Welcome, ladies. It's so good to see you guys again together. The January cohort is back together, even though you guys have been together, I think, since leaving here the end of February. So thank you for coming and giving some we welcome post commentary and talk about just kind of the before and after, because that's what we do a little bit of talking about. And then we'll be talking a little bit about the after yappas, so the post yappas that really lead into the Repioneering Church and the No Wasted Time Network and the commerce metrics. It does help you get to know yourself a little more honestly.
Oh, most definitely.
Really, because it's
most definitely.
That wasn't true. It's not necessarily a lie. It's just a reinvention.
Yeah. How is that? Reinvention. Okay, definition, not a lie. Gotcha.
Not a lie. It's just a reinvention.
Is that not real life? Is that not real life?
Yes.
And not having that then creates tension because we've established a set of expectations. And one of the things we learned was when your expectations are conflicted, what happens? Every single time. What happens? Ground zero of trauma.
Yep. Traumatized.
We also learned that sometimes that trauma happens and there's one person who has created the set of actions and expectations that then don't end up being sustainable. And who did we learn is oftentimes that person?
I don't know. Who you talking about? This a quiz?
Real question.
Oh, that's not me.
That's the person. That's the person.
That's the person right there. That's her. It's not me.
Right. Anyway,
re-traumatize myself. And so I've had to use this on almost a daily basis, and that's no joke. Almost every single day.
We use other stuff on a daily basis.
That's right. That's right. That is a fact.
So it is a fact. So let's just flip over what we're using every day. That's where I am. Yeah. Let me just flip over my tools, my toolbox.
Absolutely. Well, let's see if there was any warnings given on the front side.
Okay. Oh, this is fun.
Of information and about anticipatory preparedness. And we collaborated and said, with these social tech tools, that's the missing piece. It's the magic sauce that we haven't been able to figure out. And I said that makes sense to me because the social tech work at the core has to be about transforming and moving us to a set of values that are sustainable in society. Sustainable value-based transformation. The best models we can run says the best kind of transformation is the kind that you do from love. Everything else is behavior modification. You either got to bribe them or put them in a choke.
Smoke and mirrors.
Yeah.
Everything else is smoke and mirrors.
Never sustainable. When I take the pressure off of your neck, you are no longer motivated to say uncle.
Right.
And if I ain't got goodies that you actually want, then usually the behavior is go for what you know, and that's not sustainable. And we're seeing a product of that in society. Models that are behavior modification are, here's your rule list. If you do these things, you get the goodies. If you don't do these things, you get the punishment. And we see them all throughout society. But sustainable value-based transformation from a platform of love is spiritual work. It's your core. All the faith traditions say it, all of them collectively. If you take away the ego, take away the tactics of behavior modification, what I'm gonna do is create fear in you and then dangle a goodie in front of you. Right, Kevin. I want you to do something, but what I'm gonna do is use behavior modification. And if you don't do it, I'm gonna put you in a chokehold. Hail. That is a guilt paradigm. Yes. Right? Fear, guilt, insecurity are all fear in one way or shape or another. There's other words that go for it, but those are big categories that people understand, and that is not love. And so part of this was you can't fix it unless you fix that. And you fix that in the way that operates in universal principles, and that is diversity. I can't put everybody in a Christian box and say, do it this way. As a matter of fact, the way the universe works is it says, y'all need each other.
Hello.
Some of you Christian people need some of the Muslim people because there's some pieces that they got that you ain't got. There's some Taoists that you need to know. There's some Buddhists that you need to know. You might need some of that yoga or some Qigong to get yourself together. You might need some of that healing from these shamans. You might need some of these pieces. And then I ended up in Ecuador, and the prophecy of the condor and the eagle is a prophecy that they're holding to, like the Bible. It says that there's going to be a 500-year period, and then the paradigm will shift. The paradigm works on universal principles like the pendulum. Every pendulum comes back in the other direction. And they said 500 years will happen, but then there is a time that the condor and the eagle must reunite. It's an opportunity for it to happen. Here's the window of opportunity. And it's said that the condor and the eagle are symbolic of North and South America coming back into harmony. They say it's symbolic of the heart and the mind coming back into alignment. And that is my work. My work says you can have all your spiritual sha-na-na can be on point, and your other side is funky as a mess because we live in a traumatizing world and there's a 100% trauma rate. And so for this side to operate functionally and you not clean up this side is hindered by the process. And even if it's powerful to the max, it will be hindered by the poison of a traumatized ego. Because trauma is the addiction. Everything else that we do to soothe our fear, guilt, and insecurity are the behavioral drugs of choice, and that can include substances, but it's all for the same reason. The reason why some people use costuming. Not that those things in and of themselves are wrong, but if you use it as a drug of choice, it is your drug of choice. Whether
that
so y'all did 40 days of that? Y'all did 30 days of this?
That was powerful. That was powerful.
30 days.
30 intensive days.
It's sabbatical. That's what it is. It's not a vacation retreat.
No, it's
it
not.
is a intensive sabbatical.
Yeah.
Part of that is y'all not gonna leave here and say y'all didn't get it. What was she supposed to give? The universe says, what was she supposed to give you? No, she didn't. She didn't shortchange us. She gave us everything she was supposed to give us. Her conscience is gonna be clear. My daddy said, make sure your conscience is clear. But part of that is really the foundation. But it also brings up a really important piece about behavior modification. Because a lot of things that I see that fall under the healing modality umbrella or basket, if you will, are about just try not to do it.
Yeah.
Our process doesn't deal with the symptoms at all, because the strategy says, if you've got a fire, how about we first turn the gas off? How about we go to the core and fix what's wrong at the core? And then let's see if the need for the behavioral drugs of choice don't subside. If there's not a trigger, you don't need to pull on that behavior. Tell me about that. Maybe in your experience with other modalities or behavior modification approaches that you may have reflected on and seen in your life. How did this style of healing, and it's got some, terms and whatnot, ethiotropic style of healing, but how did this style of healing maybe be different than your expectations, or maybe the same as your expectations, in that we don't deal with the symptomology?
Navy SEALs. Navy SEALs.
That part.
Navy SEALs.
You're muted.
Share what that means. It's probably not a lie, but that may have come up in one of the videos, and people may not make the correlation and understand that out of context. Explain where did that come from?
I was sharing my process with my dear friend Josh, and where we were at that point, I think I had been there for about 10 days. And he said, damn, what you doing? We wouldn't get to that for, another 2-3 years. This is the Navy SEALs of self-improvement. I wouldn't have been able to hold up with all of that.
And that was right about the time when I was like, I don't know if I want to still do this. I got to go. I'm going to Manta. Forget this.
I don't even know where I'm going in Manta, but I'm leaving here.
Enough.
So this was the Navy SEALs of self-improvement, of therapy. I mean, I've done things that did call for a lot of behavior modification, but were impactful. One thing I was in for 18 months of intensity, but I still got a chance to go back home.
Yeah,
still got
you go home.
I still got a chance to tell fluffy stories with it. Okay, the acronym of F.I.G.S is so very true, because on the inside of F.I.G s you got all these little seeds. It's kind of sweet, but it ain't. It's all of these things in there. It just seemed to be the best way to describe all of this, but no, it's quite different.
It's like trauma boot camp. Like it was boot camp for me, and my daughter, I told her what it was, but okay, so she listens to me and she's like, yeah, Mom, whatever. And then I'm like, listen, I gotta go. I got homework. She was like, you got homework? I was like, yeah, I got homework. I said, I gotta go. We got group session. She said, wait a minute, did you check into a facility and didn't tell me? And I'm like,
yeah, I guess I did.
So, I posted a video and it's like, is Diamond in jail? Am I on lockdown? What's going on? I was in rehab for real. It's like trauma boot camp. And that's the best way to describe it. It is so intense. It makes you examine every single decision you've ever made in your life, how you addressed it. It breaks it down into moments in time. That was a big challenge for me. This was my narrative. But what happened? What was the moment where you felt that trauma? And what was your response? And so, it just, it's intense.
Yeah, it's usually just a few minutes.
And like I said, you can't go. I mean, you can go home, but you're not going home. If you dedicated this time to this process, like I said, which was the best time I could have ever spent. But, you do the work. Your joy, your freedom, your liberation, the lightness that I feel in my spirit now after having addressed some of the biggest boulders in my life, I don't even have words for it. Even though I do, because it's in the book.
Yeah.
One of the things that was different, this was a work exchange, so some of the excursioning that typically happens when people are here as part of a program and they pay in cash include some of the excursions, but one of them that I think really captures that is one of my favorite places in Cuenca is Piedra de Agua, one of the world-class spas that is just
that was phenomenal.
Yeah, I spend my Chick-fil-A money, but in the process, I take people and do the outdoor circuit, which is part outdoor and part subterranean. But one of the things in there that really exemplifies the philosophy of social tech is the contrast pools. You go from the red mud to the blue mud and wash that off, and then you go into a warmer pool of water. And they say halfway through, you have the opportunity to get out.
Yeah.
And go dip in the contrast pool. And one of the realizations that came to me years ago, I was on the beach one day and I just realized, if you stay on the edge, tippy toe, that water splash, you get cold and you back up a little bit. And you dibble dabble in a little bit further. And it gets cold. And you'll be a half an hour and still only hip high in that water.
Yeah.
That seems like it makes sense, but on the edge of the water is where the waves are. They pushing you in, they pushing you back out, they flipping you around. You're trying to stay up, you're trying not to get cold because you're not acclimated. And one of the approaches that is the alternative is submerge.
Yeah.
Right now, just do it. Do it. Yes. it is going to be shocking. Yes, it's going to be cold, but that is 5 to 10 seconds of cold. And then miraculously, you begin to acclimate. Part of what intensive is about is it is a jarring difference because this modality is very different than many other healing modalities.
Right.
But for those that come and do this intensively, and that's what the month-long intensive healing sabbatical is, like it's literal, is giving you the weight of it to be able to do the submersion. Because we're asking you to go deep, get the biggest things you have, because how do you know if it works if it doesn't work on the real stuff?
That's right. That's real talk, and dealing with the biggest traumas and having nothing else to have to focus on opened up a whole level of creativity for me while I was there. I mean, I surprised myself. And part of the work exchange was to document the process. And everybody that knows me is like, what are you doing? I didn't know you could crochet. And I'm like, me neither. But, it just was okay. I have this area that has been lifted. And so creativity had the opportunity to peek its head up. And you have the time. You have a safe space to do whatever it is that you need to do with that open area in your life, your heart now. And you described it like take the biggest boulder out and then you get room for more, replenishment. The water can come in, take out the biggest one. And so I'm eternally grateful that I had the opportunity to deal with that biggest one because the creativity has not stopped flowing since I left Cuenca.
Very nice. It frees up energy. Because those other things take so much energy to maintain in our life. Putting up the defenses, putting up the guards to protect my fears and my insecurities. We're talking energy exchange, and I treat energy like currency. I call it life currency. How much is it taking? And what we find out is it's just like when you pay a bill off. Ooh, freed up some disposable income. What am I gonna do with this disposable income? This bill is paid off for some of us that live outside of the country, and our bills have changed. Is your rent paid? Is your phone paid? Is your internet paid? You got a couple $20 bills. You can eat. That ain't nothing.
Oh my gosh.
Life is about what I'm gonna do with my disposable income now.
Yes.
And energy is the same way, because if you realize you're holding those boulders and you let that go, your hands are free to do and follow your passion. And that is the core of this, because healing is for a purpose. Healing is the process of getting there, but it's how could you live your life authentically? The purposes, the passions in you, if you could be doing truly what you want to be doing with your life. You want to wake up tomorrow and do what you're called to, that the day will call you out into it to do. What are those things, big and small, and literally? And what's stopping you? Because I don't care what the answer was. This is one of those dad questions. No matter what the answer was, it always boiled down to fear. And it was, well, then shouldn't we think about healing the fears first? Because then, if the fear isn't what's stopping me, then only a choice is. Oh, but I don't have money. That's what we think. I'm afraid that the life I want to live won't support me.
Right.
I'm afraid that I'll have to give up something to have that kind of freedom in my life. I'm afraid that, insert your own explanation for why you aren't waking up, literally doing the things that you really want to do. And this work says, if we start building communities on people who are doing that creativity stuff you was talking about, whatever your version, the diamond version of creativity, the diamond version, the Wendy expression of passion and creativity and authenticity. If we start building community with that, we begin changing the world.
Agreed wholeheartedly.
Those are the places that I want to go live. I want to live with people that are doing that. When you talk to them, this they passion. This is it. I have friends that I interact with, and when we talk about things that I know are their passion, you can tell. It inspires me. I told 2 of them this week, we're planning another healing vacation retreat in Kenya this year. And I said, y'all motivate me. I'm not just doing stuff y'all doing, but just hearing you talk about it motivates me. Get into my lanes and do my stuff, because I identify with that feeling. When you know it's your lane and you doing you, and nobody got to, no matter what nobody else says, you know you're doing you authentically in love, not to damage stuff, not to cover up, not to fake it till you make it. You know what that feels like. And when you can identify with that, because you've had those experiences, you recognize it. And this is about letting go of that boulder, because all of the strength in your life, the energy in your life of dragging that stuff, bags of it around, it and told you about them bags. Dragging it around. If you were to let it go, put it in the river, let it flow, let it go on to its next, let that energy move into other ways, it comes back into our lives in those ways that are much more loving. And so we replace those holes with that. So I think that really what you were talking about captures the essence of what this work has been to me. Let's listen to this short clip right here.